Hello everyone and welcome to episode 8 of American Gods. I'm Galvin and I'm here with
Arun, Dillon.
This was the final episode of season 1. Some revelations, but I feel like we both kind of thought it would be a little bit bigger.
Right. I mean, for the season finale, and considering everything that's happening, they've built up to what's, this meeting and all that. We didn't really get to see any of that, and we feel like we didn't really reach our destination at all this season.
So let's jump into it. We start and we're with Shadow and Mr. Wednesday. They are with Mr. Nancy.
Right. He's making a suit for them.
Yeah, he's weaving a suit for them.
The spiders crawling all around.
Yeah, because you get it? Because he threads stuff like a spider. He basically is like, oh, I want to tell you guys a tale. And they're like, oh no, but then he's like, come on. And then once upon a time, but it's not really once upon a time, it's literally what happened with, I want to say, what's her name?
Bilquist?
Bilquist, yeah. So Bilquist, it goes into her backstory. She was a god, and she used to have these giant, extravagant orgies and stuff of, blood, and there'd be kings. They would try to be with her and stuff like that, but she would just consume them.
Right.
But then we jump forward, so she having this crazy orgy and stuff, and then, the king tries to go up to her. They have sex, but she takes them all, and then eventually she, consumes everyone at the orgy.
Right, so basically, the men in this world are threatened by the power that she has being a woman, so they're doing everything they can to take that away from her.
Right.
For a while, she's able to fight it off, and then eventually, she starts to lose. So.
Right. So we show that at her crazy cool temple with the blood moon thing that they keep showing, and then we jump forward and we're in the 70s disco era now,
right,
which is pretty cool. She is shown that she falls in love with a woman, but she doesn't consume this woman. She actually falls for this woman. You think at first maybe she's gonna consume her, but she's not. But then, yeah, like Arun said, men they feel threatened by women. They raid this disco because they don't want people to be loving, and it's about war and violence and guns, So they raid the place. She escapes on an airplane, and again, you see that woman that she's in love with. She's still consuming guys to go to America, but it's like her power's draining because people aren't praying to as much. Right. And when she gets to America, she's very sad because the woman that she was in love dies from something. We see her in the hospital. She's depressed. She eventually starts doing drugs and ends up on the street.
Yep.
She sees her name is becoming restaurants and other things, but it's not the same. No one's praying to her.
Right, and then she sees on the TV, her place, her altar where she was worshipped is being destroyed now.
So she's laying on the street, and then who visits her but none other than Technology
friend,
Technology Boy. He basically proposes. He's like, new gods are like, we can rebrand you, we can get you, the energy you need to just live, but not be as powerful as us.
Yeah, and that tool to do that is a cell phone.
That tool to do is a cell phone, and that app that they're gonna call her name is basically what's it called? Swipe.
A Tinder.
Tinder, yeah. So it's like swipe left. It's like a love app. So still, it's involving her with orgies and sex, but it's instead it will be people who saying her name, keeping her alive, but instead it's gonna be an app.
I wonder how many gods people swiped left.
They don't even know. Could have been dating Zeus. I think she reluctantly takes it because at this point she's just sad.
She's desperate,
Yeah, she's desperate.
Well, Mr. Nancy tells them, while he's making their suits, the reason why he tells the story. He really wants to emphasize what's the moral of the story. And then he tells him, get yourself a queen because women are still powerful.
Right, because Shadow's is it the moral of the story? Is it about, don't trust people or go for your dreams? He's like, no, what are you, an idiot? It's get yourself a queen. So they're talking to Mr. Nancy, and then Shadow is still, he doesn't believe any of this. That's the big theme about the episode, is Shadow's just I don't believe you. He was your friend. Shadow's almost worried that Wednesday might kill him now,
right.
Because he's like, Vulcan was your friend, you cut off his head. So he's like, you're not mad, Shadow, you're just confused. Right. And then Shadow comes to a realization he is confused.
Yeah, and Shadow doesn't really seem to understand the line between a new god and an old god. He doesn't understand that they're kind of fighting against each other because he doesn't realize that Vulcan really turned his back on Wednesday.
Right. I mean, the main thing is Shadow realizes that he's confused, but he realizes that he doesn't believe. He's still in this debate thing where it's all cloudy, You know, he thinks that like, oh, is this real or am I in some sort of dream kind of thing? And that's like a theme that we see. Like, it's like Shadow's still questioning all this: dead wives, gods, leprechauns, it all.
And then he even asks Wednesday again, "Who are you?" And Wednesday again responds with, "You know, you wouldn't believe me if I told you." So
Right.
Shadow
now
still doesn't seem to know.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. We know for a fact he doesn't know now. He's like, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. You're not ready yet, because Shadow doesn't believe. So they go on this trip then, and they are driving, and we see all these bunnies. So presumably this is probably the bunny that stopped the cars, and we find out when it gets to
the one that made Laura's ice cream truck crash.
Yes. We get to this house and it's like this giant party.
Right.
And it's a weird party. You're trying to figure out like what it is. Clearly it has something to do with Easter.
Yeah, there's like candy everywhere.
Candy everywhere, eggs, rabbits, cooked rabbits. And then you find out it is Easter. Wednesday is basically explaining like this holiday used to be a pagan holiday. And, you know, the Christians kind of adapted it, and it's all about Jesus now, but it used to be, and about Easter bunnies, but it used to be about this woman, Easter, you know? That
Ostara, they call her.
Ostara, yeah. And so you meet her, and she's from Pushing Daisies. And then at this party, Shadow is seeing all these Jesuses, like all the Jesuses that we talked about, because every time a believer would see Jesus' face, they imagine it looks like their color. Right. So you have like Asian Jesus, you have like white Jesus,
you have Jesus.
You have all the Jesuses.
Sadly, no Mexican Jesus. He didn't make it.
I know he could be there. I wasn't sure. I didn't
he got shot.
Take a picture. Indian, but it could have been a different one. So we see all these gods and stuff, and they're here because basically they are there to celebrate with Easter. They're the newer gods. They're newer than her. They're still older than the new gods. Right. But they're all celebrating their day together, which
kind of
Easter.
Become Jesus' holiday now.
Yeah.
More so than Ostara's.
Yes. They still do traditions, though, from the pagan. She talks about that, like painting eggs and stuff like that. So she's still happy because she has power, Like, she has power and she seems content. Wednesday, of course, shows up. She's not happy about that, but she likes Shadow. She comes on to Shadow pretty strong, and she senses something with him. Like, again, he's something special about this one. He's kind of explaining, like, people, the same thing he explains Shadow is like people used to pray to you. You need to basically take away stuff if you're gonna like get them to give you.
Right. You need people to want you and need you.
Right. To pray to you, you have to like take away and then give when they pray. Right. It's got to be like that deal.
She's like the mother of springtime. So she's bringing life and this beautiful, nice sunny sky and green grass and flowers. So if you take that away from people,
all the crops die and everything. Yeah, it's crazy. So Wednesday brings her upstairs. She's not happy to see them. After Wednesday does this crazy speech and basically starts talking crap to her and the Jesuses. Yeah. And he basically just says, like, these guys are not you. They stole this day. And then he makes Jesus feel bad.
Jesus is the nicest guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy and he feels bad.
Guilty about
feels guilty about stealing the
what
dead.
What a great guy, Jesus.
That Jesus, such a nice guy. Yeah. So they go upstairs to talk. And again, Wednesday twists what we know is he says that Vulcan was killed by the new gods. Right. They basically already started the war. And here's the sword, and you need to come to my side.
So he lies to Ostara about Vulcan's death. He tells him that the old gods are the ones that killed him. Shadow's kind of standing around and looking like, okay, I see what he's up to. He's kind of using this now to recruit her to their side.
So he sends Shadow away to go get 2 drinks, and Shadow walks downstairs and sees Jesus. And Jesus is there hovering over the pool with a drink, and he drops it because I think he feels bad that he stole Easter.
Is that the actor who plays
the guy from Lost?
Daniel Faraday?
Yep.
I knew he looked familiar.
Yeah. Who's also was in Hannibal, which again, Brian Fuller uses like the majority of the people who were either in Hannibal, Pushing Daisies over and over again, and that is him, yes.
I want to say Jeremy Davies, right?
Yeah, he's the guy who was on Lost with the tie.
I love him.
Yeah, he's a good actor. And now he's Jesus, and he has the halo and everything. Yeah. And then Shadow asks Jesus, like, hey, did you always believe? And he's like, I have to, I'm a god. That's what I do. I was created to believe, like that's the whole purpose of him and stuff like that. And
I like how Shadow's just completely cool, just having a chat with Jesus sitting on the swimming pool.
Yeah, and again, Shadow's realization is he tells Jesus, he's like, my problem is I don't think I can, you know? Like, I see all this crazy stuff, and I just still don't believe it, you know? I think maybe I'm in a dream, but I don't even believe that, he says. He questions everything around him because it is crazy, you know? Like, and I think he's so kind of, like, jaded from what happened with jail and losing his wife and all that and her cheating on him, that everything, he just doesn't want to believe in anything right now. Then we cut to Bilquis, and she's in a museum that's been recreated of her temple.
Her house.
Her house, basically. Her orgy house. And who shows up but Technology Boy? And Technology Boy is like, hey, I'm calling in that favor. And we don't know what yet for. That we will see by the end of the episode. She tries to seduce Technology Boy. We find out she's been ignoring Technology Boy. So we can see that she's not really happy working for these new gods, you know? She's accepted that she owes them because she's alive and benefiting now with the app and doing better. But she hasn't been responded. Technology Boy is there to call in the favor personally. She tries to seduce him. He's like, come on, like, I'm not gonna live in your vagina for the rest of my life. And then she basically has to agree that she's going to do a mission for them. You know, they're calling in that favor. We don't know what it is yet. So back at the party,
Mr. Wednesday, while they're walking around and mingling in this party, he kind of explains to them who each of these people are. And he finally tells Shadow, these are all gods. And Shadow's like, holy shit, like they're gods. So he kind of starts to understand now that he kind of understands who he's dealing with now.
Right, yeah, but he still doesn't believe in it. Before they can get any further in there, you know, Wednesday trying to like swoop up Easter, here comes the ice cream truck with the leprechaun and Laura. They arrive to the party because she can still follow Shadow with her cool vision,
The light, the glow.
following technique. Yeah, so they walk into the party and they're all the Jesuses, and then the leprechaun's like, basically, this is where you're gonna get resurrected, because she's getting really gross. She goes to the bathroom and she vomits maggots.
Yeah. So her body's just completely rotting away now.
Disgusting. Yeah, she's had all those maggots and she's gross. Easter comes and she's like, you're ruining my party, bringing a dead girl here. Yeah, so she's like, you know, get her out of here. And then the leprechaun says, you know, you owe me a favor.
Right.
And it's probably because they had an involvement in killing her in the start, you know? So it seems like Easter already has been helping Wednesday, but hasn't fully went to his side. She just dabbles, or maybe she owes favors or something like that. And Laura Moon is kind of like, just like, hey, you need to like resurrect me, I want to be with Shadow, and this is bullshit. And she looks into her eyes and she tells a tale basically where it's like the last thing that killed you is like shown, and it's the leprechaun. Right. So we find out that the leprechaun is the one who killed her. We already knew that.
But she didn't tell that to Laura.
She didn't know that. Yeah.
Eventually, but Sweeney does tell Laura. You know, after Starz says that I can't save you because you were killed by a god.
Yeah, once killed by a god, you can't be resurrected by her. She says. She says there's still a possibility, but she doesn't have those powers. And so immediately Laura's pissed and she grabs the poor leprechaun by the balls and is holding him up. Is basically squeezing his balls. So painful. I hope he has magical balls that can heal.
Which god? Who's the one that killed him?
But she already knows. Yeah. She just wants him to say it. And it's Wednesday, of course.
He's the one who ordered the hit on her.
Yep. And why? Because he's like, gods fuck with all of us, you know? Like, they choose. That's what they do. They're gods. So basically,
well, we also find out that he was the one who sabotaged their plan to rob the casino. All the way back in the beginning when they first met, they had this plan to rob the casino, and then they got married, and they fulfilled it. And she knew it was the perfect plan. She kept saying, "This is the perfect plan. You won't get caught." And he got caught. Wednesday was the one behind that. He said that you didn't account for divine intervention. That's what Sweeney says to her.
Right. And then, so the interesting thing you gotta think about on this one that we're left with some clues is, why did Wednesday want Shadow so much? Everyone, all the other gods seem to think there's something special about Shadow, but most of them say he's just unimportant. He's not a big deal. Even the leprechaun doesn't know the full plan with Shadow. So it would seem very likely that Shadow is probably a god and doesn't remember he's a god, because an interesting part is Jesus also is like, hey Shadow, he's like, you already know me, and whether he means that's because Shadow used to believe in Jesus or something that doesn't, or if he's like someone that like came from that period or another god thing. I think for sure by this point we know Shadow's special. It doesn't necessarily mean he's god. Maybe he's someone like a leprechaun, but he has something that Wednesday needs. You know, Wednesday needs him to be on his side, and Wednesday needs him for this war that they're going to for.
And Wednesday was obviously planning his recruitment of Shadow for a few years because he was in prison for 3 years.
Yeah.
And you know, Wednesday's the one who sabotaged this casino robbery. That was 3 years before he even met Wednesday. So he was planning this for a while, and they said he needed Shadow to feel alone, like he had nothing left.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So
who's Shadow?
Who is he? The mystery continues. So Media's there dancing with all her weird no-face guys who are like tap dancing around and stuff. And this seems like the first time that they've met each other. And then it's like, oh, like I owe you. And she's like, yeah, you know why you're still alive is because Media has what influenced Christians and everyone else about Easter. So, you know, she basically owe me. Like we've made the synthetic eggs and all that stuff. You know, like you're benefiting and you're happy because you work for us, you know, and then let's keep it that way. Like we're here, let's make you happy and keep you alive, but you're there, we're rebranding it, you know. And that's the funny line. She said Santa Claus also.
Yeah, Santa Claus is the one who deals with it.
Yeah.
So there goes our theory that Shadow's Santa Claus.
That was your theory, yeah. She's basically asking Easter, like, hey, where's Wednesday? What's the deal about all this? And then she's lying, and she's like, oh, I didn't listen. I'm on your side. I didn't even entertain it. I'm very happy. And then who comes down? But Wednesday comes down. And Wednesday, of course, is like, nah, fuck this shit. You know, I'm getting this party started for reals. Wednesday comes down, and he basically is like, look, you know, like, I'm here, and basically, like, we're going to war. And they're like, you work for us, old man, you're old. Technology boy shows up. She starts duplicating people, getting really like threatening to Easter and everyone.
Those tap dancing guys.
It's pretty crazy.
Wednesday, he basically tells them that they don't really have, they think they've gained power because they just sway people on what to believe in. They use media and they use the internet just to force people to believe it.
Right.
But what Wednesday says where he differs and the old God differs is that they inspire people. Then it's real.
It's a give and take thing. Like they pray, they benefit.
Yeah,
you know?
But it's something real. It's not something that they were told to do by, you know, a box, you know, a black box or their cell phone.
Right.
And that was the difference. He says that's the difference between you and me, and this is why I still have power.
Right. Media is like, you know, like you live in an atheist world now, and it's changing every year. It gets with media and technology and the internet, people believe less and less. You know, like you have to stick with us. And so Easter's kind of torn with which side it should go. With Wednesday she goes. And then Wednesday's like, look, people used to say your name, and like, I think you're deserving.
Didn't Mr. World show up for a second when it was one of the tap dancing guys and his face was...
Yeah. So like, Technology Boy's there, Media's there, and even Mr. World is there, and just like, look, old man, you need to calm it down. He takes over one of the bodies, Mr. World.
Right. He basically tells them that Mr. Wednesday, his warfare is worthless. Like, there's no match for these new gods.
Right, yeah. Wednesday calls down thunder and kills all the tap dancers. Yeah, the henchmen, the no-face henchmen.
The most unthreatening henchmen in the world.
Because Wednesday's like, this war always started, there's casualties, and they're like, who died? And he's like...
Yeah, all the clouds turn gray, and you kind of see for the first time the power of Mr. Wednesday.
You also see for the first time what Wednesday really looks like. You see him as Odin, you know, with the hair flowing, and like him, like, you know, he's all white, he's a god.
Let's talk about that now, because... They made it so obvious in the 5th episode when, you know, the new gods are, you know, pitching this deal to him about who he was. And then we have this big reveal. You know, he has this big grand speech and, you know, the thunder's coming down and this crazy lighting and we see how powerful he is. And then he's just like, I'm Odin. And it's like, yeah, buddy, we knew that.
Yeah, we knew it, but Shadow didn't know it.
Why wouldn't they just...
So Shadow, I think, was like, again, when he was in the prison thing, he wasn't ready to believe it, you know?
I'm saying as the you know, the people who are making the series, why wouldn't they save that? Why wouldn't they make that big reveal as like, holy shit, he's Odin? Because when he says that, us as the viewer are like, yeah, I knew that.
We were kind of spoiled by knowing he was Odin by the Mr. World and the
missile,
rocket. Yeah.
So
I think that maybe if you're not an observant person, you might have missed that detail at that point. But yeah, I think it was pretty obvious. And I do think, I agree with you, that could have been saved for this moment.
Because it was a really cool scene, but it just felt underwhelming.
Right, because we already knew. Yeah, because we saw that. Maybe they thought general audiences who didn't read the book wouldn't have picked up on that.
I'm not sure.
I know you didn't, and you saw that and picked up on it. Yeah, and we talked about it. So I don't know, but I agree with you. I think that was a missed opportunity. It could have been a better reveal if they hadn't shown
the reveal itself was great, just the impact of the reveal.
Yeah, the impact, because we had saw it in episode 5.
But Shadow was like, holy crap.
But yeah, no, it's so amazing. Shadow then believes, you know? He's like, now do you believe, Shadow? And Shadow does believe, which makes Wednesday smile immensely. So this is kind of, again, all part of Wednesday's plot to get Shadow to not only believe in the gods, but to believe in Wednesday.
Right.
So again, pretty interesting tidbit there.
So after Wednesday, you know, strikes his lightning down on the henchmen.
Yeah.
Then we see that, you know, Starz, she takes Wednesday's side. She destroyed all the life in the area. And now we know she took Wednesday's offer, said, you have to take things away. Now they're going to pray for it back.
Right. And then, so she kills all the crops.
Right. And then, you know,
Which is pretty fucked up for us humans. Yeah.
That was... And this is the beginning of Interstellar.
Yeah, basically, this is the beginning of Interstellar.
That's my theory.
It's tied together. It's all one universe, like the Marvel Cinematic.
Right, and then Media says, she says to, like, you don't know what you just did. Like, what the hell did you just do?
And then Laura runs out with the Leprechaun, is like, well, there's my husband. And now Shadow's kind of like believes in Laura as well that she's back, because he believes in everything. You know, I think he was not accepting that she was back, as well as the gods aren't real. And now that he believes in everything, he's like, my wife, you know, and he's almost happy to see her.
It kind of ruins Wednesday's plans a little bit.
It ruins Wednesday's plans. So she's the one, you know, factor that, you know, Wednesday wasn't counting on. It's like changing the course of this. He has everything planned to this, like, meticulous T. Like, I'm gonna get Easter on my side. I know Vulcan's against me. I'm gonna use his death to get Easter. I'm gonna have Shadow there. He's gonna believe in me, you know, after I set him up for all these things. But the thing he wasn't planning on was Shadow throwing the coin, resurrecting his wife, and then her growing on the leprechaun, and then them forming this thing. They've entered a third factor into this thing.
And Sweeney's in big trouble now. After what Mr. Wednesday just did to those, you know, tap dancing guys, I think Sweeney's in big trouble.
Sweeney's in big trouble, yeah. But you can tell he cares about her now and is trying to help her. For whatever reason, maybe he's in love with her, maybe he cares, you know, like, but they seem to have grown for each other, some sort of bond, and he's trying to help her, you know, and he's the one that killed her, you know, which is crazy. So maybe it's also a bit of guilt.
Yeah. He was like, you know, just the one. He was the hitman, but wasn't really the one who was.
He wasn't the one that ordered it. Yeah, and she's not mad at him. She knew it was Wednesday, you know. So then finally, after the battle, the war's on, we cut to a bus, and it's...
Yeah, Bilquis is sitting in the bus.
And then we see, like she did on the plane, she, like, takes a guy back and is gonna eat him in her vagina.
So is this the special mission, you know, the new guys wanted her to do, so go to the house on the rock, go see what they're up to, what they're planning.
Right, so we see the line of cars, and all these gods are heading there. So this is the final destination they're all going, so gods are already there. But yeah, that's the end of Season 1. Wrapped it up. Thoughts about Season 1 in general?
Thoughts about Season 1 in general. I want to say, I think that it started off very, very strong. Mm-hmm. You know, it threw all this information at us, but it was all intriguing. We wanted to know more.
Right.
And then there was a couple episodes where they kind of, you know, put the brakes on. I was like, at episode 5 when they were arrested and they were in the prison or in the interrogation room, the new gods come. Like, all of that was like, holy crap, is going on now. Like, this is where it begins. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like it never really pushed on from then. Each individual episode after that was good, but I feel like as a whole story from, you know, episode 1 to episode 8, I feel like it started off strong and then just kind of, it didn't really have a direction toward the end, because they knew where they wanted to go, but they didn't want to tell us yet.
Yeah, I think I agree with all of that. As someone that, again, read the book and then now seeing this, they've definitely extended it, and in a lot of ways good. You know, it's a very hard book to adapt, so they're doing a good job by trying to make it accessible, but then also not making it, like, dumbing it down, you know? Because it's still not dumbed down. It's like, Brian Fuller gets this material, he's very artsy, it's very beautiful, you get to even meet more gods than you did in the books, and then also you get to have bigger arcs for the characters that didn't even have arcs in the book. And they've modernized it, you know, so they talk about ISIS, they talk about phones now, they talk about Tinder, they talk about, like, all this stuff that wasn't around when the book was written, which is cool. But I will say my one note about Season 1, my one negative, is I am getting a little fatigued on just Wednesday's goal just to adapt, recruit gods. I feel that like this, that's cool, and I love every time they do it. It is cool,
They get to learn about their history.
The history, yeah.
But they've done it maybe one too many times.
Yeah, I think now it's getting a little bit repetitive, where it's like you said, it's kind of stalling the overall story.
Right. Like we want to get there. They're talking about the destination and this place in Wisconsin is meaning so much, but we haven't really gotten even close to getting there.
Right. So if they just keep doing the same thing over and over, where they stop taking new gods, and even extend it, I think they need to wrap it up probably in season 2. And then if they're gonna do that, they really need to start moving forward with like big things, like and not just introducing gods and talking about gods, because this whole thing was just basically about Easter. And I know that is kind of a big part of the book, is showing these gods and meeting them as characters and stuff. But it just kind of feeling a little bit repetitive, because they're trying to stretch this out, into like multiple seasons. And again, sometimes it really helps develop characters. Laura is a much better character, and the Leprechaun is a much better character in the show. But then I feel like Shadow and Wednesday kind of took a backseat a couple times, because they were developing other gods, and doing half the episode was just for a god, and the other one was about Shadow and Wednesday. So I feel like almost they're in the background sometimes.
Right. This episode, this last one, really focused on Ostara and Laura and Bilquis. They were really the ones. Odin didn't get his moment until the end. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Shadow didn't really have many moments. He had a couple of funny moments.
Right.
He's talking to Jesus, and when he's kind of first realizes that all the Jesuses and all these gods are around. But I feel like as Shadow, who is our main character, our hero, we didn't really get much from him in the last few episodes, the last couple episodes of the season.
Yeah, and I think some of the stuff they added, some of the multiple Jesus stuff, it feels almost kind of repetitive, because they've done that multiple times now. The Hispanic Jesus, this Jesus, they've mentioned it even, multiple Jesuses. It's just, it's almost a little bit overdone, where it could have been time given to a different thing. And if you were going to do this Easter episode, and this is where we're going to end season 1 about the Jesuses, you probably didn't need to do the start of that with Mexican Jesus, of that one episode. Even though it was good, you could have done a different god getting shot up, would have been pretty interesting. Or mention it earlier, because they even mentioned Mexican Jesus when Wednesday and Shadow are sitting down.
And this episode also felt definitely the most wacky and over the top.
You felt so?
Considering everything that's happened, I feel like every other episode before that had this kind of darkness to it. And even though this one is even a little bit more deranged, because it's just psychopaths in this happy, wonderful environment.
Yeah.
Just with all they've kind of played up the joke of all these Jesuses one too many times. So I feel like I said, I feel like this final episode, it felt out of place as a season finale. And I'm sure there's things that go on behind the scenes of why they chose the story in this way. There's millions of things that could have happened and why they chose this, and they know much better than we do. But it just seems such a strange place to put this. When things finally go to shit at the end of the episode, now we're okay, this is the American gods that I've learned to love this season. And the first half of this episode, I was kind of thinking, when is something going to happen? This is the last episode of the season. I'm going to have to wait an entire year for this to come back.
Right. No, but overall, I really liked season 1. Right. I thought it was a great show. Visually, again, Brian Fuller is great. And all the directors that did it, it's not just him, he's the showrunner, but it's, of course, all the directors of the individual episodes did great. The cinematography, the actors, I think all the actors are great. Gillian Anderson is great. Everyone in it is great. Mr. Winter's great. So the performances are cool. Seeing all these gods and how Artie is. Even when Easter did it with all the stuff, it's really cool. I just hope that my one thing is I hope they just don't milk it. Don't extend something to the point where it's it doesn't need to be extended. The stuff where I think it's relevant, where it helps flesh out characters, cool. But then let's not just keep adding gods that we don't need to if it doesn't benefit the story. And I hope to see even Shadow now believes, so we're gonna definitely get more from Shadow, more a change in the main character. Now he believes. It's what's this new Shadow going to be like for season 2? Be completely different as well.
Right, and then for all the criticism we talked about earlier for how the season ended.
Yeah.
Let's not just say that overall it was a pretty damn good show.
Yeah.
Especially in season 1, and for season 2, like I said, all the criticisms we have, it's in the best hands we could imagine with Brian Fuller and all the crew.
All right, well, thanks again for watching this every week. Obviously, we're not going to have an American Gods 109 because that doesn't...
Say bye to the...
Yeah, say goodbye to the backdrop.
You won't see it for a while.
You won't see it for a bit until season 2's back, and we don't actually know when that will be.
On behalf of Mr. Wednesday and Shadow, we'd like to thank you all for watching our 8 recaps, or our 5 recaps, really.
Yeah, 5 recaps because we started this a little late in the game. But if you like this, please subscribe. But if you like geek stuff or cool stuff, then we got probably a show for you. Or if you just like this, then we're still good. Some good, cool
look at my ugly face for longer.
Yeah,
I'm not going away.
He's not going away, and we're not going away. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Take it easy.